One of the things that I try to do even today is when I get up in the morning, I say to myself, how creative can I be with what I have available to me today to get me to another level?
Today's guest is Rob Millar, founder of Old Hippie Woodworking and Design. Rob is a visionary, a creator, and a woodworking artist, specializing in turning residential and recreational environments into upscaled experiences. If you dream it, Rob will create it. Between his previous career as a graphic artist in the gaming industry, combined with the hustle and bustle of life in Las Vegas, Rob eventually began to crave a more balanced existence. As a result, he started going to the desert, where he found the quiet and serenity he yearned for. Rob also discovered a profound connection with the unique plants, animals, and landscape in the desert, creating environments out in nature, inspired by nature, for others to enjoy was the inspiration for Old Hippie. And Rob has built everything from tiny homes to tree houses to glamping sites. The tiny home he created, called the Peacock, was named in January of 2021 the #1 wish list place to stay on Airbnb and Apple News Travel and Leisure. And as you'll hear from today's episode, for Rob, it's not only about building something, it's about bringing a vision to life and creating a space that's deeply tied to the environment, while also providing a very intentional and thoughtful experience for his clients. And one more thing, we didn't have the best Wi-Fi connection in the beginning of the interview, so it is a little choppy in a few spots. Rob's story is a really unique one though, so I hope you'll bear with it. The quality does get better as you get a little further into the podcast. So let's get into it. I'm your host, Liz Landine, and this is The Outdoor Entrepreneur. All right. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be talking with you today. I have to say, when I first came up with this idea to do the Outdoor Entrepreneur, you were one of the first people I thought of because I had recently stayed at one of your Airbnbs and met you while I was there. So I know you're a busy guy. I know we've been trying to schedule this for a little while, and we finally were able to make it happen. And I'm really, really thrilled to be talking with you today.
Great.
So first and foremost, before we get into like all the entrepreneur stuff, what are you doing for fun outside these days? Like what are some of your favorite activities that light you up right now?
At the moment, most of my time outdoor is on projects. I'm very project motivated type of person. And so there's always some kind of a project that I'm working on and creating outside. So I would have to say that's probably one of my favorite activities, which blends into I love what I do kind of thing. So when I'm doing those creative projects outside, I'm kind of in my element. Aside from that, hiking and mountain biking always, and horseback riding too. We have horses, so we do a lot of riding as well in the desert. So,
oh, that's great. So I'm interested to learn a little bit about kind of how your maybe connection with nature started and the outdoors. So what did life look like for you maybe as a kid and growing up? And did that foster a connection with nature and the outdoors for you as a child? Or is that something that came later on in life?
Well, I grew up in a small town in Canada on the border of Quebec and Ontario along the Ottawa River in Pembroke, Ontario. And a lot of outdoor activities. It's kind of being a small town, most of its activities are outdoor related, whitewater, kayaking and camping, fishing, that sort of thing. When I was very young, that's where I got that, I guess, in my blood. And then we moved to Vancouver. And so I grew up in the mountains, more my later teenage years, and there was always activities outside. And that's where I started getting into building as well. But later in life, growing up and thinking that I would make a career move, I got into computers and graphics. So I got a degree in computer animation. And that led me to a number of jobs. So for like almost 20 years, I was in graphic arts, doing 3D animation and everything. And I decided that I just didn't want to do that. I went through an illness that made me rethink things. And I wanted to get back to my roots and being outside. And so my wife supported it. And that's what I did. I built my first tiny house in the driveway with the severance package I got from the company that I used to work for. And that's how it started.
Wow, that's such a great story. I always love to see when people are kind of heading in one direction and, it's life, right? We go with it and we make it work and all that great stuff. And then to see kind of this shift in a different direction when maybe because we have to or we really want to, whatever that is. So tell us more about Old Hippie Woodworking and Design. What is it? What do you do? Give us all the details.
I mean, I've built homes and I continue to build homes occasionally, but it's not really something that is what I love doing. I'm more into the creative and fine woodworking, creative projects. What I enjoyed about doing my own tiny homes was that I was able to implement like really nice woodwork into it and just create this kind of a small but very, very unique environments. And I think that's one thing that I really enjoy doing is creating very unique environments. And so when people walk into it, they just, I don't know, there's a feeling of just somebody puts some effort into this and some love into it. And, that transforms the way people feel when they walk into a room that actually has that kind of vibe to it.
I will say, as somebody who has stayed at one of your properties, I stayed at, I think, the Eagle Feather Teepee Airbnb at Sandy Valley Ranch in Nevada. It was such a wonderful experience. And just what you said, I felt transported. I felt like I could live in that teepee forever without a care in the world. It was really such an intentional space. It was well thought out space. And it was a really special experience. My boyfriend actually brought me there for my birthday. So I think people, they need to feel these moments and have these opportunities to really reset and recharge. And I think your properties and your Airbnb properties do just that. So I'm sure I'm not the first one to tell you that. I'm sure others have shared that as well. But, I do think the work you do is really important. It's powerful. And I experience that. So a big thank you for the work that you do. It's really incredible.
Thanks.
So let's keep going. Any other projects you have going on? Anything else you're working on that's exciting?
Yeah. So we, Sandy and I are taking some time off in the summer just because just working outside in this extreme heat is very, very difficult. And I did it last summer and I was like, I can't do this again this summer. So I have this old Airstream that I refurbished and it's a 30-foot land yacht Airstream. I have it just outside here and we're packing it all up and we're heading up to Canada because I have family up in Canada and there's a couple of projects lined up there. Nothing special, just something to keep me busy. And then also to finish the work on my Airstream because it's not quite complete yet. But when we come back, we are going to continue working on the old Western town and add a few things onto it because it's going to be a horse ranch that's going to be for veterans, for I guess for type of rehabilitation or post-traumatic stress issues, but there's all works with horses and it's all for veterans. So we're going to be creating an environment over there that's, the same kind of Western theme and allow people to stay on that ranch, but for a really good purpose.
Yeah, that sounds like a fantastic project. And is it going to be specifically for veterans, that whole property, or will there be opportunities for other people to visit it or stay or check it out?
Yeah, I think there's going to be, we're still in development mode with it. So this is the primary goal at this time, but there's certainly talk about doing events there and having more units for visitors as well.
Sounds so interesting. So tell us a little bit, Rob, what does entrepreneurship look like for you these days? And I ask that kind of curious about, I guess, specifically what parts do you love about being your own boss and being an entrepreneur? And maybe what parts do you feel are more challenging or that you don't love or you're not as excited about?
Well, after working with large companies for so many years, you are pretty much part of a cog in a wheel, like your position is to do this or that. But when you're an entrepreneur, you have the creative flexibility of putting your attention right where you believe it needs to be at any given time. So it allows me that flexibility, but you also have to be extremely, self-disciplined. When it is your baby, and your responsibility, there's a certain motivation that just keeps you going. So that's what I love about entrepreneurship, and I think it's the ultimate freedom too. You are totally responsible for your success and your failures at that point, what you're willing to put into it.
Yeah, agree. Having been myself somebody that was a cog in a wheel and have shifted out of that wheel, it's such an incredible experience to be able to work for yourself. But I love to say, and I've heard someone else say this, being an entrepreneur is hard. It doesn't have to be hard, but it takes hard work. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be hard, but it takes hard work. And it's so true, right? You are your own boss, and that can be challenging sometimes, but it's also beautiful, right? That's what's powerful, and that's where the freedom comes in.
Yeah, one of the challenges that I think everybody has, though, when they're decide to take this path, and that I struggle with at times as well, is to learn to let go. You can't control everything. And you can only take on so much, and you have to make that step when it's like, okay, there's just too much on my plate here. I have to start delegating projects and be willing to pay somebody to help me or take somebody on board to help get these things done. So nobody's really going to have the love and the affection for the projects as you do as the owner and the creator. But you can only do so much, like if you want to keep it small and do it yourself, then that's your prerogative. But if things do grow and expand, you really do need to branch out and get the proper help. And that kind of puts you on a whole different platform as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. We'll be right back after this quick break. If you're like most people, you have tons of thoughts, ideas, and shiny things swirling around that beautiful, powerful entrepreneurial brain of yours. If you're looking for someone to share all that with, I got you. Grab a free 30-minute clarity call and let's have a quick brainstorming session. At the end of the call, you'll leave with recommendations on next steps you can take to move forward with clarity, confidence, and ease, as well as access to helpful tips, tools, and resources. Go to lizlandine.com, scroll down the page, and click the button to schedule your free clarity consult today. And don't worry, it's pitch-free and no pressure. Look forward to chatting with you soon. All right, now let's get back into the episode. So, you've successfully shifted from being an employee to an entrepreneur, like we just talked about, and you found a way to really build your own business that allows you to incorporate the things you love, like being outdoors and working with your hands and building and creating things. And I'm sure you've learned a lot along the way. So knowing everything you know now, what advice do you think you would give to your younger self? Is there anything that really just kind of jumps out at you that you wish you had known when you first started out on this journey?
Yeah, I guess when we're young, and of course I grew up in more in the 80s. And it was I find that, not that it isn't now, but it was very materialistic. Everybody was running after the money. Everybody wanted to be a big stockbroker or some kind of a trader of some sort, or, being a big startup or something, or .com, that sort of thing. And so everybody had dollar signs in their eyes, and they were just kind of following the dollar and really not following their passion. So I did get kind of wrapped up in that a little bit, where I was more interested in money than anything else. And it didn't, as, we mature and we move through life and go through our challenges, I think it's, you kind of settle down and you calm down a little bit and just say, I want to try to do the things that I love to do, whether I make money, a lot of money or no money, at least I'm doing something I enjoy doing. It was the old saying that you could fail at doing something that you hate as much as you love, so you might as well do something you love. So if I was to give myself words of wisdom from where I am now to my younger self, it would probably be that, really truly follow your heart, because I think that's the only place you're going to find success.
I love that. That's great advice. And I guess building on that answer, I'm curious to know, would the answer be the same, or maybe you would add something else to it for that person who's listening, to this podcast right now, who's maybe spent years doing work they don't feel fulfilled by, they have passions and things they really enjoy doing. Maybe they crave that deeper connection, or maybe they're just not sure they can even do it or how to start. Maybe they're scared by it, all the things. do you have any additional advice, I guess, to give them to kind of help them move forward in that journey and to not just be thinking about doing it, but to really pursue their dreams and their passions?
It is scary. I can't deny that. When I decided, especially at my age, because I didn't do it till make this jump from all the animation, and I had a good resume, and I knew I would be able to get another job because the company that I worked for was being bought out by another company, and they were making layoffs, and that's when I decided that I just want, I'm tired of being shifted around like just a pawn, and so that's when I decided to make my exit out of there. And it was scary because when you develop a pattern in your life and you have an income and you have a family and responsibilities and a mortgage payment and everything, to make a transition like this just based on your own dreams and desires, it is scary because you really, really have a lot of faith in yourself and willingness to do whatever it is you need to do. And there was times when I started that I would just take any kind of job, like I was building the tiny house in my driveway and I really didn't even know what the hell I was going to do with this, tiny house. And I started the woodworking business and, just started advertising online and doing little projects here and there and taking on whatever I could. And if the money did get a little bit tight, I had to be willing to do something else, like drive an Uber for a little while, but staying on track with your passion. One of the things that I try to do even today is when I get up in the morning, I say to myself, how creative can I be with what I have available to me today to get me to another level?
That is great advice. I love that. And that just acknowledging, right? We might not have all the things we need right now, but what do we have that we can work with, and not to let that slow us down, not to let that stop us from pursuing our dreams and our goals, even though they are scary. I've talked about this with my clients before. It's really about committing to the long haul, right? Committing to, this is what I want for my life, for my family. This is the life I want to create. And I'm committed to that. However, I need to make that happen to get it going. So whether that means I got to pick up some odd jobs from time to time, whatever that is. So I love kind of hearing that this isn't just, and this is what I really wanted with this podcast. This isn't about things being perfect. This isn't about, things just working out right from the beginning, because that's not the reality for a lot of people, but it's about doing it, right? It's still moving it forward and staying true to kind of the life you want to create. And so I love hearing when people, are following that path.
Yeah. And it is a bit scary, but you do have to have, faith in your ability. And there are going to be days where you're down and it's like, oh my God, is this ever going to change? Or, am I ever going to, catch a break, or this project killing me, I can't figure this out, or you might be working with tough clients and stuff. But you have to have faith that these are all just stepping stones to get you to a different level. And I always try to tell myself and give advice to people too that are going through this, is that each challenge is going to bring you to a different level, which will give you a whole different viewpoint. Each step is going to allow you to see things that you couldn't see before. And you don't know where that's going to take you. For instance, I started my entrepreneurship and my business and stuff that I would have never dreamed where I would be today. When I started, where I am right now was not even part of my thought. But it's because of what I enjoy doing. That path has kept me in that arena that I love.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, kind of going along those same lines as far as a stepping stone, right, to the next level, and just understanding, each and every one of us, we're always a work in progress. I'm curious to know, what does life, business look like for you in the future, as kind of that next level or expanded version of what you want out of life? So I always like to say it's like the 2.0 or 3.0 version of yourself.
Yeah, well, the next step is obviously the veterans retreat and working with the horses and everything. So that's on my immediate future. Beyond that, I really couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, well, sounds like the sky's the limit. That's a good place to be in. So where can people find you? Where can people follow, the projects you're working on? If they're interested in learning more about the current project you're working on with veterans, how do people find you?
Right now, I have my website at Old Hippie, .com, and the WW is just for woodworking. So it's not like it's www or anything like that. People get confused. It's just WW. So old hippie www.com.
And where can people find you on social media? Are you most active on Instagram?
Yeah, we have an Instagram account. Actually, my wife is the one that takes care of a lot of that. So I'm hoping I'm giving you the right information. So it's on social media. It's Old Hippie WW again. And for Instagram as well.
We'll put all that in the show notes. So as we kind of wrap up, I guess my final question I always love to ask my guests is, you may know I'm a strategy and action business coach. So I created this podcast to not just talk and dream about things, but to show people how they can combine an income producing job with their love for the outdoors and being outside and in nature, and to see that it's possible, right? And that everyday people, just like you, just like me, anybody can do it, even though it may be scary and all of that. But ultimately, I really want to inspire people to take massive action towards their own dreams and their own goals. So with that in mind, I'd love to close out with what I call an outdoor action challenge. So what's one thing you would want people to get out there and do? And whether that could be in pursuit of becoming an outdoor entrepreneur specifically, or just something more general, kind of nature outside focused, is there something you would challenge people to get out there and do?
Well, I think number one, just being able to break away from your routine and enjoying nature is, I think, really important, because I think we get just caught up in this, our routines and our responsibilities in our own lives. And taking a walk in nature where it's hiking, that in itself, I think, grounds people and allows you, leave behind your social media, leave behind your responsibilities. And when you go out in nature, really absorb yourself in nature and take that moment to recognize where you are and your connection to nature, because we are nature. We are not cell phones, and we're not programs, and we are nature. We evolved just like every other aspect of nature, So grounding yourself and getting out in nature, that in itself, as far as being an entrepreneur outdoors and doing something like that, I think there is a lot of opportunity now as well with the internet and Airbnb experiences and being able to do, like my wife did like a yoga class out in the desert by one of the teepees too. And it was amazing how many people came out there, because creating these little things out in nature, it's surprising how many people are willing to come out and, step out of their boundaries or their comfort zone and do something like that. So I think that would be it.
Those are both great challenges for people. I'm a big proponent of the whole disconnect to connect, right? And do that out in nature. I think it has such a positive impact on every aspect in our life. And if anybody's struggling with anything or having a bad day, or you're dealing with anxiety, or you're feeling like, life is not where you want it to be, I think just taking that time for yourself, it can be a 5-minute walk. It can be a day, out on a hike, whatever it is that you can work with. It's just so vital and so helpful. So I think that's a great challenge and a perfect place to close out. We'll put all the ways our listeners can learn more about you and your work in the show notes. And just thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Rob. It's been a blast talking with you, and all the best to you and your wife and business partner, Sandy. Keep doing your thing, keep kicking ass, and happy adventuring.
All right. Well, I'm glad we were finally able to connect.
Yes, me too. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care.
My goal as a business strategy and action coach, and why I ultimately created this podcast, is to inspire you to take massive action towards your own dreams and goals. So if you're enjoying this podcast and you find the content valuable, like, subscribe, or follow me wherever you get your podcasts. And I always love hearing from my listeners, so please leave a review. And until next time, be sure to live life on your terms. And if you're not, make a plan and make it happen, my friend. Adventure awaits. Thanks for listening.